Mm. How's everyone doing today? For those of you that don't know me, although if you're on my Facebook page, you probably know me, but maybe you're catching this on YouTube. Um, I am Dr. Toni, and I am here as your success and satisfaction coach for leaders, achievers, driven entrepreneurs. These are folks that care about what they do, want to make the world a place that's enjoyable for themselves and for others. And if that is you, I am glad that you are here. And even if that's not you, I'm glad that you're here join the conversation. What I chose to do to challenge myself this year was to come on Facebook Live, to do live streams here on my personal page specifically. That was part of the challenge for me, to come on here and to have conversations about things that matter to me, things that I know to also matter to those that I serve, those that I lead, those that I love. And to me, that is both an act of vulnerability and an act of courageousness. And I desire to embrace both of those. And I think that we need more of that in the world. A desire to embrace both courage and vulnerability, even and especially when things are really challenging on the personal front, on the professional front, on the macro level, kind of larger community or global front. I think it's really important. I think it's a key piece of what we all struggle with, right? Because vulnerability and courage, they really do go together, but we forget about that sometimes. Sometimes we think that to be courageous is, it's not about being vulnerable, it's just about being strong, but that's not true. Being courageous, it's a vulnerable step. That is part of what makes it the strength that it is. And so, wherever you're at in your journey, personal, professional, wherever you're at in your self journey of your life, I hope that you choose to embrace some courageous vulnerability in whatever way that shakes out to be for you, whatever way that looks for you, because it looks different for each of us, and that's okay. I also want to have a conversation today, and I invite you to join in on the conversation if you want. I always love contributions and us having these conversations together, but I want to talk today a bit about unity and diversity, and how so often I see them treated as if they are polar opposites, as though we are either on a unified front or we are so diverse that we are divided, and they can't kind of come together and complement one another. And that it just divides us more. It's like the more we seek to create circles of inclusion, the more we also create circles that are excluding. And that can sound really strange and frustrating and backwards, but if you think about it, maybe you've experienced it. Well, I don't find this is a story that I have experienced many times in my life. Like, oh, like there's no place where I belong. There's no place where I fit in. So what do? Maybe I try to fit in, maybe I try to belong, or maybe I try to create my own space. But then if we create our own space where others like us in a certain way, maybe only this or only that, then in that space, while we are creating inclusion for some, we are also excluding others that don't fit that criteria. And I'm not saying that one is right or one is wrong, but what I am saying is that in order for us to be able to experience unity as well as diversity within our world, we need to find a way where they can complement one another, where unity embraces diversity and diversity embraces unity, and together we have this beautiful opportunity for community, to be this both and, where there is a place and a space for all in some way, shape, or form. There is safety. But there's not this sense that we are needing to change who we are to fit in or to belong, or that we are needing to divide amongst ourselves so much so that any challenge or trauma or turmoil is actually amplified. And part of what led me to want to talk about this was, in part, the unrest that is happening in the world right now. Right now, there's a lot happening, especially with Russia and Ukraine, but also the division that has been happening in our states in America for the past several years, and the division that we can see happening, even if we just look even a little bit more closer to home. Like, we can see that within our own homes, or within our own communities, or within work environments where people are being pushed and pushed and pushed to the max, and they're burning out. And there's so many opportunities to see this, where unity and diversity are not being treated as though they can come together and complement one another. They are almost being treated as though they are polar opposites. And so I just want to share a little bit of a story that I experienced. When was it? It was years ago. Oh, when was it? It was many years ago. It was during my last, I believe it was during my last bout of burnout. Yes, it was during my last bout of burnout. I had 2 children at the time, and I was working in a toxic work environment. And I was burnt out, but I was in denial that I was burnt out. Going to work was like, it felt, it was just challenging experience, because it felt like I could do good work here, but it felt like almost like the work that I could do here is just constantly being thwarted and barriers thrown in it. And this is unethical what's happening. And I would be like, I have to advocate, I have to fight for these clients that I'm serving in this setting. And then it was like, but no one's listening and no one's hearing. And as I would stand up, as I would speak out, as I would embrace my leadership from this place of authenticity, but also advocacy, I was really burning myself out, because I wasn't finding a way to take care of myself at all. I wasn't prioritizing it, or really thinking about that at all. To the point where I had multiple miscarriages. My body was just so stressed out. And I can't say that the stress that I was under directly caused miscarriages, because I can't go back in time and change things and say that this would or wouldn't have happened. I can't say that. But I can say there's a correlation, right? And so as this was going on, the election process was happening between Clinton and Trump. And I was watching social media, and my news feed just go bring, bring, bring. If you were a good social worker, you would be doing this right now. You would be out doing this. If you were a good Christian, you would be thinking this, and you would be saying this right now. You'd be telling people to believe this. And if you were a good woman, you would vote for this person because this is da-da-da. And if you were a good blah, 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 blah. Like, I was just like, right? And I have a very diverse news feed. Right? I don't live in an echo chamber of my own beliefs. So I have a very diverse news feed. And I was looking at that news feed like I was experiencing anxiety and almost panic, like just looking through and reading my news feed. Like, I can just thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it would, I could feel it in my body. And the pressure that I felt, the divide that I felt was like, well, if I don't do what they think I should be doing, I must not really be a good social worker. If I don't say or believe what they think I should be saying or believing, that I must not be good at this, or I was questioning myself and doubting myself beyond what was reasonable, on top of the medical challenges that I was experiencing, the physical challenges that I was experiencing, in part due to being in a toxic work environment, but also primarily because I wasn't really taking care of myself in the way that I needed to. I was allowing the toxicity of that work environment to bleed into myself and my life. And so I was experiencing division at work, and I was experiencing division just in the larger, like, community setting, within myself, and even within my home, because I was navigating all of these stressors, but I wasn't willing to share my stress or ask for support. And so that was creating a further gap, a further division between myself, my partner, stress for me, and therefore, more challenging for me to focus and things like that as a parent. And so when we are in a place of division, and we are constantly being bombarded by what we should do and how we should be, and what we're supposed to be thinking and what we're supposed to be believing, and how we should be convincing people of other things. Like, when we are doing that, it may come from this place of, no, we're trying to create this inclusive group where everyone does or thinks these things because this is what's going to make it better. Everyone's going to be included in this way. But really, my experience and much of what I've seen others experience is that it creates this sense of division, of pressure cooker, of high intensity stress and internal chaos. And when we're in that place, we cannot function well. At the very least, we cannot function optimally, right? And so I experienced that. And I could go into more and more detail, but we don't need to go all the way down that. And maybe you can relate. Maybe on a global front, maybe on a national front, maybe on a more intimate personal front, maybe on the parenting front, maybe in the business front, whatever it is for you, maybe you can relate in some way where you're like, oh, well, I'm trying to do what I should or what I'm supposed to or what they're expecting of me because I want to be kind of included in this. Or this is just, I've just been so used to thinking and doing this way because I should, that this is just I should. So why else would I not, right? But what I want us to maybe consider is that if that's the case and you're feeling really kind of either overwhelmed or stressed or confused, or you're doubting yourself, or you have a bout of imposter syndrome, or you kind of feel like you're all over the place, or something is amiss, something's misaligned, something feels off, there is a sense of dis-ease for you. It doesn't mean that you're in burnout necessarily, but just there's something, you can tell there's something for you to pay attention to. If that's the case, what I want to challenge or encourage you to consider is maybe there is a place where whatever it is that you're having a hard time with, internally or externally, there is this separation between unity and diversity rather than an inclusion, a complementary relationship that holds space and has place for unity to embrace diversity and diversity to embrace unity. And this is going to mean different things for different people. So I am being a little bit more general here, kind of intentionally, because this can look so many different ways. The conversation that I was going to have with you last week before I got the stomach bug around unity and diversity is actually different than the conversation that I am having with you around unity and diversity. Still similar components, but details and story parts of it and things like that are different. And so I think it's actually good that I didn't have this conversation last week. I think it's good that I'm having this conversation this week because I think it's going to land a bit differently. If there is an internal stressor or pressure that you should be doing something in a certain way, because that's how business women do it, because that's how social workers do it, because that's how healthcare workers do it, because that's how Christians do it, because that's how women do it, because that's how moms are supposed to do it, because that's how XYZ. So that's how XYZ is supposed to do it. That's just how I'm supposed to do it. I was always told I'm supposed to do it that way. But something feels off for you. It may be because there was a division created between what you should or are supposed to be doing and actually what feels aligned for you and true for you here and now. And if we can accept and embrace that it's okay, like both can have their space, but you get to decide. You get to decide. Both can exist, and when both can exist, but you can decide which one, there is this nuanced embracing of both unity and diversity on this like more individual level. And then if we apply it in this larger, like more national, global, or community level, then we can say like, it's okay if others have these expectations of how we should be as a person, a professional, a citizen. It's okay if they have these shoulds, these supposed to, these beliefs about how we should be. It's okay because their thoughts and their beliefs and their expectations, they are part of the diversity of our world. And yet, even while there is this diversity among beliefs, we can still have a sense of unity as a human race. That we are all here needing and wanting to learn, to grow, and meaningfully connect and meaningfully contribute with love and joy and passion and purpose as much as we possibly can. That's why we're all here, right? And that allows for the diversity that is each and every one of us to also complement the unity that is connecting each and every one of us. I went real micro and real macro all at the same time. But if you're with me on this, if you if you hear me on this, I would just challenge you to just peek and see if you can apply this at all to any part of your life that feels stressful for you right now. Because if we don't, we feel powerless. And when we feel powerless or angry or resentful or rageful or vengeful during times of chaos especially, we don't function optimally, and we are much more likely to make poor choices that actually contribute to the very thing, to the very chaos or challenge or stress or even trauma that we don't want to grow. Okay. So it was a big conversation that I just shoved into those 18 minutes there. And it's one that we could break down in so many different ways, but it's one that I just kind of want to generally leave you with today so that you can apply it in whatever way works best for you based on where you're at. And I invite anyone who wants to be a part of this conversation, please share your comments. Like I welcome contributions. If we can deepen or enhance this conversation in any way, shape, or form, or clarify it in any way, shape, or form, I welcome that. I think that's so important. And I also, of course, welcome questions. If there's any questions around this, I'm happy to have a conversation around that and provide answers when and where I can. And if you know that you want to embrace more meaningful success in your life, be it at work and or home, in life, love, and or leadership, as well as experience greater success, greater satisfaction, then know that that is what I do using brain, science, and soul. We bring it all together, and the body as well, and we use techniques, and we also work together to increase your accountability and the support that you need in order to get that connection, gain those experiences that help you to feel more meaningfully successful and to have that greater satisfaction in a way that is unique only to you, because it is different for each and every one of us. You can reach out and let me know if you want to talk about ways that I can support you. I do have just a few opportunities currently available right now with a couple one-to-one slots, and I have a group community coming up within the next few months that I will be very excited to share soon, but not quite yet. All right, y'all. So I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Comment, question below, contribute in a way that works best for you and for others. See you later.